The world itself has taken on just a little bit of a different tone today, as moments ago, Iran has attacked. I had as my number one storyline of the day, Iran preparing an attack on Israel. Well, you scratch out preparing and you say Iran has attacked Israel. Where is Joe Biden right now? Where is the president of the United States? When is the president? I mean, I understand that this is just 30 minutes old. But time is of the essence here, especially when it comes to backroom diplomacy to prevent this from further escalation to the point that you have the entirety of the Middle East at war. Now, let's call this what it is. On October 7th, 2023, the political ruling class of the Gaza Strip, the ruling political party that controlled the Gaza Strip, attacked another country. Now, while Palestine is not officially recognized as a country in and of itself, it is a state governed by and controlled by the terrorist group Hamas. I just want to back this up and help you understand. And at the time, and I'm not here to, call the balls and strikes from yesterday, and I'm not here to pat myself on the back, but we saw it coming. Those of us who understand the Middle East understand that if you do not have a heavy hand of backroom diplomacy going on with the United States of America telling the rest of the Middle East that you better back off Israel, otherwise you got the United States of America to take care of. You got the United States of America on your hands. Look, I have no interest in going to war or having boots on the ground in the Middle East. But through strength of diplomacy, the United States of America could have avoided this. And we chose not to because we have a weak president of the United States. And you have a ruling party, the Democrat Party, that doesn't know whose side they're on, it seems, at times, despite giving lip service here and there to Israel. Then suddenly you see a breakout of a protest on a college campus, on an Ivy League campus somewhere, and the Democrats back off and act as if they're even-handed in all of this. There is no even hand in this. On October 6th, 2023, there was a ceasefire in the Middle East between Israel and Hamas, between Israel and Hezbollah, between Israel and Iran, between Israel and any other warring faction that wants to do harm to the Jewish population in that part of the world, from the river to the sea. October 7th changed all of that, inasmuch as Hamas launched a coordinated and sustained vicious and bloody assault on Israel. Now, that was a terrorist group that has political control over that region of the world. There is a distinct difference between what happened on October 7th, the response that Israel has given up until now, the latest response against Hezbollah. All of these organizations, by the way, you must understand, are funded by Iran. When we told you that there would be consequences to Barack Obama opening up pallets of money to the Iranians, this is what we were talking about. Once again, I have no interest with the danger in the Middle East right now playing a game of I told you so, but it's important to get this stuff on the record. Actions have consequences, and when you mollycoddle those who mollycoddle terrorism, you get more terrorism. It's exactly what happened during the Obama administration. Donald Trump attempted to walk that back. He broke the agreement for good reason. He attempted to clamp down as best we can through sanctions on those bad actors in the Middle East. And sadly, in the 3.5 years that Joe Biden has been president, he's rolled that back. He has played footsie with the Iranians to the point that they have been emboldened in this way to not only fund Hezbollah, not only fund Hamas, not only fund terrorist organizations in that region of the world that have in their mission statement the desire to destroy all of the Jews and to eliminate Israel from the maps of the earth. Now that country has struck back in a big way. It is being reported this hour that Iran has launched major missile attacks on Israel. Dozens of missiles over Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, and Haifa. This is not ceremonial. This is not a show pony. Whether you want to make the official declaration or not, I am here to tell you that this is an act of war between two countries. How else would you describe it now? Someone say, well, wait a minute, the Israelis attacked first. The Israelis attacked terrorists in the form of Hezbollah in the regions of the world where they were stationed. These were targeted attacks designed to cut the head off the snake, and it was very, very effective. You know, nobody's pager blew up in the Middle East unless you were a part of a terrorist organization. Nobody's two-way radio blew up in the Middle East unless you were a part of a terrorist organization. Israel understood what they were doing. And by the way, my goodness, that attack or that assault was, we're told now, some 15 years in the making from the beginning of the ideas to coming to fruition. In response to the death of the leader of Hamas, or rather Hezbollah, Iran has attacked. My prediction in the aftermath of October 7th, I'm sad to tell you, is coming true, inasmuch as most of us who examined this information in front of us, most of us who watched as Joe Biden tried to play two ends against the middle, as my grandpa used to say. He tried to play two ends against the middle. And the outcome was easily predictable. You soft pedal your approach. You soften your approach. You don't show the level of strength and resolve that is necessary. Then these leaders will take advantage of that as best they can. And they're doing so right now because they don't believe America is going to have Israel's back. They don't believe. Here's the political calculus if you want to get right down to where the goats can graze on it. The nation of Iran knows that Joe Biden does not have the balls to do anything to support Israel right now because they have an election going on. Now, I understand that it's lunchtime. Maybe there's some kids in the car, and I apologize for the salty language, but I think you know I'm exactly right. Now, you have a war breaking out in the Middle East, and America seems to be absent. Now, we are being told by internal sources that the United States of America is attempting through our military to support and coordinate with Israel on their air defense, and that's a good thing. We have been doing so since the Iron Dome was installed so many years ago. There are sources inside of Israel saying that the security cabinet is sheltering in an emergency bunker right now for fear that there will be they will be a target for these bombs coming out of Iran. Ballistic missiles are coming across. These are not, once again, I just want to reiterate, and I'm not trying to scare the hell out of anybody, but these are not show missiles. And there's a difference. A lot of times when Israel acts in a way to attempt to protect its own borders or protect its own people from terrorism, some of these nations around them, specifically Iran, sometimes it's Hezbollah, which is located primarily in Lebanon. Sometimes it's Hamas and other groups. They'll make a show of retaliation where they'll pop up a couple of missiles, the Iron Dome shuts them down, and off we go. What I am seeing and what I would suggest to you is that the possibility exists that we, based on our support of Israel, could be going to war. $20.90. I just listened to all you said, and I guess I'm a bit naive. How does this and why should this matter to me as an American? Honest question. I'm new to this whole thing. In my eyes, when they attack Sheila, I don't know what that is, by blowing up cell phones, they themselves struck first with terrorism. Are we not allowed to call a spade a spade? Well, what I would say is if you're coming at this honestly, $20.90, and for some reason I I mean, I don't know. Maybe you are. The initial act of terrorism that started this latest round of conflict started on October 7th, 2023. There was no active engagement between the Israeli forces called the IDF and any of these terrorist organizations. Hamas is a terrorist organization that has gotten its meat hooks into the political arena by taking over political control of the Gaza Strip, which is recognized as a political entity, but not recognized as its own state. Hamas won those elections over the Palestinian Authority. The Palestinian Authority still controls the West Bank, and the West Bank is relatively quiet, although there have been some actions amongst the Israeli forces in an effort to root out some of the terrorism that's involved in the West Bank. But the PLO has been relatively quiet. They're the moderates in all of this now, believe it or not. Or they used to be called the PLO. I think they're called the PA now, the Palestinian Authority. So let me walk it back for you, 2090, if you're truly entertaining this, and I appreciate your interest. America has always been invested in the continued existence of the nation of Israel. We consider Israel as the lone democracy in the Middle East. We consider, there are some show pony democracies in the Middle East, but none of them truly exist. There's a lot of religious zealotry that goes on over there. There's a lot of authoritarianism and dictatorship and, kingdoms and whatnot. Even a lot of our friends, like the Saudi Arabians and the Egyptians. That to say, we have long held that it is of vital importance that the United States of America continue our friendship and our partnership with the nation of Israel, because Israel, in fact, is a stabilizing force in that region. We also recognize, based on the aftermath of the Holocaust, that were it not for the United States of America, the very likelihood exists that you would see a second wave of an attempt to genocide and a complete destruction of the Jewish people. Now, Israel was created in 1948 under much debate and under much stress and emotion, based on the actions of Adolf Hitler and World War II. If you blow this up most recently, there have been multiple conflicts in the last 25 to 30 years, and I could go over all of them, and I don't know them all off the top of my head. I don't pretend to. But I would suggest that the most recent round led to Israel withdrawing all of their forces in 2006 from the West Bank and from the Gaza Strip. They protect themselves with walls and with barriers, as they must do, because of the terrorist presence in that region of the world. At the same time, they allow aid to come into the Palestinian regions. They allow aid to come into the Gaza Strip. They allow monetary aid, food aid, medicine, other humanitarian aid to flow into that country. Sadly, the terrorist organizations that control those countries take that aid, particularly the money, and they spend it on organizing and preparing for war to destroy the Israelis. That's what all the tunnels are about underneath the Palestinian territories, underneath the hospitals and the schools. They shield themselves behind the innocent Palestinians, and they wage war as they can against the Israelis. There was a major escalation in their effort. So in 2006, they took over political and full control of that slice of the Middle East. On October 7th of last year, there was a major offensive by Hamas and their forces, and they struck out and killed intentionally innocent Israeli civilians. They killed some 1,400 on that day, and they have taken others hostage, and they have kept those hostages over the last almost calendar year. Israel has been attempting to, over the course of this year, get their people back. There are American hostages being held as well, 2090. So the act of striking the terrorist in Hezbollah was a response to an organized assault against them and their nation, and the furtherance of that response by the group of terrorists called Hezbollah. Well, that's a little bit of a primer, and I know that I'm glossing over a lot, and people who have information and are very informed about the Middle East they would agree with me there.